Okay, we are here. We're live. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. Hopefully, you all can see and hear me clearly. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a 1 in the live comment section. And as per usual, I want to allow some people enough time to get into the stream. So the first thing that I would like to do is play for you one of my latest news clips from TD News Network. That's my second YouTube channel. And I think you will all have a love and appreciation for this clip that I'm going to play for you right now. So I'm going to play this for you, and let's allow some people to come in. And then after this clip, we're going to get to the discussion. Robert Smith, America's wealthiest black man, who has an estimated net worth of $5.2 billion, recently donated $50 million to support STEM students at historically black colleges and universities via the Student Freedom Initiative. Smith founded the initiative after pledging to pay off the student loan debt of all 400 Morehouse graduates in 2019. The chief purpose of the initiative is to offer eligible students at participating colleges and universities the option of having a portion of their educational expenses funded under the income contingent funding arrangement known as a Student Freedom Arrangement, which can serve as an alternative to high-cost fixed payment debt obligations. The program will also provide holistic support to students, including by providing access to internships, tutoring, mentoring, and other educational and career support resources. Smith has been very active this year in advocating for economic justice by way of reparations for the descendants of American slavery. Back in August of this year, Smith suggested that companies should consider paying reparations. In a statement on the topic, Smith stated, "What we are witnessing is decades and generations of social and economic injustice, particularly as it relates to the African American community. I think that it's a political decision that's going to have to be made and decided upon, but I think corporations have to also think about it as well. What is the right thing to do? I think that has to be a very thoughtful approach, but I think action needs to be taken." All right, so we're back. Like I said, that's from my second channel, TD News Network. That channel is almost at 1,000 subscribers. I believe it's at about 917 right now. So if we can get that up to 1,000 subscribers before the month is over, that would be amazing. Once again, TD News Network, that's the kind of news that we say we like and that we want to hear. There are great things that are going to happen with that channel moving forward concerning interviews. So make sure you're subscribed to that channel. Now, let's get into what we're all waiting for and what you want to see me talk about briefly. I actually have notes today to try to move this thing along a little quicker than normal. So let's get into it. And the topic of today, and what's been the topic of the past week, is the leaked audio and video of Joe Biden's Zoom meeting with civil rights leaders. Now, since this leaked, I've seen a lot of people laughing at the civil rights leaders, right? Because of the way in which Joe Biden is talking to them as if they're children, telling him what he's not going to do. And the laughter is somewhat justified for the most part, because these so-called black civil rights leaders have been rather spineless for the last 50 plus years. If you watch the hour and 40-minute long Zoom meeting that's on YouTube right now, I believe it's still available, I think, on the Intercept YouTube channel. The entire time as these so-called civil rights leaders are speaking to Joe Biden, they're essentially telling him everything that he wants to hear and everything that he would be comfortable with hearing and entertaining. They're not challenging him in any way, and they're not demanding anything. So once again, I understand where the laughter comes from when we're going like this, ha ha, look at how stupid you all look. Also, what I see concerning finger pointing, as I was just doing, is a lot of people looking at BLM, the organization, the Black Lives Matter organization, as well as other black folks that voted for the Democratic Party, and they're saying, you see, I told you Joe Biden wasn't going to do anything for you, and you guys voted for him, you pushed for him, and look, he's telling you he's not going to do anything for you. See that? I told you. But what I don't see a lot of and hear a lot of is us looking at this critically and saying, why did this even leak and how did it even leak? Because we all know that this isn't coming from the civil rights leaders. It's not one of them that leaked it, trying to expose Joe Biden. These men and women get paid very well to send us off a political cliff. So it wasn't them. Clearly, the Democrats put this out intentionally. But why? Because it's not like this makes Joe Biden look good. makes him look bad. But that's actually the point. The point of putting that out was to make him look bad. Now, follow me, because I know that might sound a little crazy, but follow me for a minute. You see, for quite some time now, for at least the last 2 years, and this grows every year, there's been a lot of noise being made in the press concerning this divide that's happening within the Democratic Party. This divide between progressive Democrats, which consist of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, and the establishment Democrats, right? Or some people say moderate Democrats, which would be Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and essentially the old guard, right? So there's this perceived division within the Democratic Party between progressive Democrats and establishment Democrats. But you got to understand, this divide is fake. There's no real beef. And what you're actually seeing with the Democratic Party, with this fake division within it between the progressive Dems and the establishment Dems, is what you're witnessing and what we're seeing is a rebranding of the Democratic Party. And we're witnessing a transformation period going on within it. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me explain. And we're going to get back to the Zoom meeting. So just walk with me. What we're seeing right now has happened before. What we're currently witnessing is history repeating itself. Okay? If you go back from 1949, we're talking pre-civil rights movement, 1949 back. So between 1865 and 1949, the roles were reversed as it pertains to the way in which Black folks looked at the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Okay? The way we look at the Democratic Party today is the way we looked at the Republican Party between 1865 and 1949. It was actually the Democratic Party that was vehemently opposed to any and everything that had to do with helping the newly freed slaves, or we'll just say Black people today. They were against any and everything that had to do with that. But come the civil rights movement, now all of a sudden, this is when you see the Democratic Party go through their rebranding, transitioning phase, to which now they're progressive and friendly towards Black Americans and to our plight and our struggle. This is when you see this happen the first time. And we all know how that's ended for us, right? How that's ended is that the racial wealth gap has ballooned beyond belief, and it's not stopping anytime soon. And many of us already know that also as well, the average median wealth for Black Americans is going to fall to 0 by 2053. And if we're being honest, it's going to be a lot sooner than 2053. That's where that has gotten us with their rebrand. But my point is that this has happened before. They used the civil rights movement. They used our plight and our struggle to rebrand and remold themselves as something that they weren't, in order to get our votes and in order to get us on board with their program. And that helped us in no way, shape, form, or fashion. I want to read this quote to you real quick from Lyndon Baines Johnston, LBJ. Some of you are familiar with this already, but some of you are not. So let me pull this up for you right now. All right, so this should be right in front of you right now. And let me remove myself from here. And the quote goes as this: "These ninjas, they're getting pretty uppity these days. And that's a problem for us, since they've gotten something now they never had before: the political pull to back up their uppityness. Now we've got to do something about this. We've got to give them a little something, just enough to quiet them down, not enough to make a difference. I'll have those ninjas voting Democrat for the next 200 years." And I'll be damned if he wasn't right. After the civil rights bills were passed and post-civil rights movement, Black folks have been eating out of the hands of the Democratic Party ever since. And we're currently seeing this happen once again with their new rebrand. But this time, how it's happening is through the Black Lives Matter movement. You see, from the civil rights movement to the Black Lives Matter movement, Black struggle and Black pain is always and consistently used as the catalyst to rebrand the Democratic Party, as well as to launch other political agendas off of it. All of 2019, we were in what we would call the Me Too movement. Throughout all of 2019, as the Me Too movement was going on, in any way, shape, form, or fashion, did the Me Too movement get parlayed into something that Black folks as a collective can benefit from? Did it get parlayed into something that immigrants could benefit from? What about the LGBTQ? Absolutely not. And the same can be said for for all of these movements and for all of these social issues. At least once a year, every year, concerning immigration, there will be a little, we'll say a kerfluffle, for lack of better words, right? And it's the hot topic. Do those issues surrounding immigration that take over the media, does it ever spiral into and parlay into something that could actually benefit us? No. What about women? No. What about LGBTQ? No. It's only your pain, your struggle, and your movements that gets used as the catalyst to rebrand the Democratic Party, as well as to catapult other political agendas. And that is precisely what's happening right now with the Black Lives Matter movement, alongside with these so-called progressive Democrats. Now, let me put the camera back on me for a moment. Give me just a second. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank the people that have contributed to the stream so far. I see some people have joined Patreon. I see some people have supported on the Super Chat, as well as the Cash App. All support is appreciated to me. If you have a love and appreciation for the work that I put in on this channel and you want to assist me in making TD Hip Hop Media independent of YouTube, because that is the goal, you can do so via Patreon. As you can see scrolling on the screen, I have a new $3 tier. It's only $3 a month. The $5 a month is also still available, but I did reduce it to $3 a month to help everybody else out in these trying times who would like to support, but are going through some things right now. Also, once again, you can assist through Cash App, which is $ TD Hip Hop, and you could also show love through the Super Chat as well. Now, let's carry on with this stream, because concerning these progressive Democrats, right? Progressive Democrats, like LBJ was, where are these people actually coming from? They're not coming out of osmosis. It appears that they are. When you see people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Anaya, what's her name? Anaya Presley, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, all these people that don't even really have a history in politics. They come from humble beginnings, and then all of a sudden they skyrocket to stardom. And they're these household names that have become celebrity overnight. And you look and you say to yourself, these people have not even been around in office long enough to garner the kind of attention that they receive. Where are they coming from? And how is this happening as it pertains to this transition that's going on? Well, I'll show you where they're coming from, because it goes to show that everything is being orchestrated, and that the beef that's within the Democratic Party is fake concerning the concerning the progressive Democrats, as well as the progressive Democrats versus the establishment Democrats. But before I go into that, I almost forgot the most important thing concerning why the video was leaked. The video was leaked before I go into what I was going to go into, because of everything that I just stated. I know a lot of us are looking at that video and we feel that it makes the Democratic Party look bad. It doesn't. That video actually makes the progressive Democrats look amazing. Because what's happening right now concerning the progressive Democrats and the rebrand and the transitionary period that's going on is that these progressive Democrats who are championing Black Lives Matter, they're championing the Green New Deal, Medicare for all. That's something that they could use as a recruitment tool to say, you see, look at the way in which we got Joe Biden in office, riding the back of Black Lives Matter. And look at how he's talking down to those Black civil rights leaders. Look at how he's treating them. Look at how he's telling them, I'm not doing anything for you. You see, when you attack these Black civil rights leaders, when you attack Black Lives Matter, because all these other political agendas are attached to it, you by default attack all of them. Attacking BLM and attacking those civil rights leaders and speaking down to them as if they're children, disrespecting them, by default is an attack on LGBTQ struggles. By default is an attack on women's rights. By default is an attack on immigration. By default, it's an attack on the Green New Deal. Because these progressive Democrats are the ones that are riding the back of BLM and Black struggle and the dead corpses of Black men and women that have been killed by police in order to get themselves in office as far as being in the House of Representatives are concerned and becoming senators are concerned, so that they can get in office and put forth their own political agenda that's independent of the Black struggle. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why that video was leaked. That wasn't something that was leaked that we can use for us. That was leaked to make the old guards, the so-called establishment Democrats, look bad. The progressive Democrats can use that for their own recruitment process. If you think that that video coming out of Joe Biden is going to pry Black folks away from the Democratic Party, you have another thing coming, because it's not. All it does is make AOC and those progressive Democrats look great. That's what it does. It makes them look like our knight in shining armor that are coming to save us. But we all know that they're not. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. Because like I said earlier, where are these people actually coming from? The AOCs and the Cori Bushes of the world and Jamal Bowmans. Where are they coming from? Well, this is where they're coming from. Let me show you. They are being produced through this Democratic organization right here called the Justice Democrats. That's where they're coming from. You see, the Justice Democrats is a organization, a democratic institute that goes out and recruits it goes out and vets and recruits people to bring along into the progressive Democrat fold. This is literally the organization that is vetting folks and recruiting folks to get them on board with their agenda. As you can see, everybody that's popping up on the screen right now is everybody that I've named who have popped up out of nowhere. They don't even have political experience, but all of a sudden they're winning these seats in the House of Representatives and they get catapulted to celebrity status. They're all being produced by the Justice Democrats. That's where they're coming from. Now, what do the Justice Democrats believe in? When I say they're being vetted and they're being coached and taught and produced by them, what are they actually teaching them? What is their platform? Let's get into that when you actually click on platform. Okay. Now we're going to scroll down a little bit right here. An economy for all. So this is everything that they believe in. This is everything that they want. This is everything that they're fighting for. An economy for all. Cancel student debt, fair trade, federal jobs guarantee, Green New Deal, Medicare for all, tax the rich, expand Social Security, free public college and trade schools, secure living wage. Let's scroll down even more. Let's get to a society for all. Third, reconstruction, end gun violence, LGBTQ plus equality, justice reform, housing as a human right, reproductive rights. Let's scroll down even more. Democracy for all, defend net neutrality, immigrant rights, voting rights, democracy reform, and progressive foreign policy. Do you see anything on here that has anything to do with you based on what I read? Absolutely not. Now, the part on here that is supposed to apply to you, I'm pretty sure it went over your head because that was the point. Let's scroll back up to it. This part right here. Third Reconstruction. Let's click on Third Reconstruction. I'm sure you're wondering, what are they talking about, the Third Reconstruction? Some of you might know, but let's click on that. Third Reconstruction. And when you get to it, here's the Third Reconstruction. This is what's supposed to be your Black agenda. This is what's supposed to be for you. We have never completed the project of Reconstruction. The first Reconstruction was stemmed by, was stymied, if I'm saying that right, by violent terrorism in the 19th century. The second Reconstruction was stopped by the white backlash to the civil rights movement. America must reconcile with our past by creating a National Truth and Reconciliation Commission to lead our nation through a process that investigates the generational harms caused by slavery and Jim Crow and propose necessary reparations. Based on everything that I read just now, where in this so-called Third Reconstruction, where they are going to establish a commission to lead our nation through a process that investigates the generational harms caused by slavery and Jim Crow, where do you see Black people on here? Where do you see Black Americans? Where? Where do you see African Americans? Where? Forget the technical terms that we like to use. You know me, I use descendants of American slavery. Some of you say ADOS. Some of you say FBA. Forget the technical terms. You don't even see Black people come up here. You don't even see us as African Americans. They're not even referring to this as them supporting reparations. This is called the Third Reconstruction. Now let's dive deeper into this so-called Third Reconstruction, and then we're going to shut this video down. Let's go into the Third Reconstruction, and how I want to do that concerning the Third Reconstruction is by going to the website of Jamal Brown. Some of you may be familiar with him, some of you may not, but I want to go to his website right now. Okay, so give me just a moment while I pull his website up. Let me end that stream. These folks are wild. Let me pull up Jamal Bowman. Let's go to his website. Okay. The Reconstruction Agenda. Jamal Bowman for Congress, Reconstruction Agenda. Remember, he comes out of that whole Justice Democrats crowd, okay? Don't forget that. This is going to be good. Now, the Reconstruction Agenda. We're going to scroll all the way down and let's get to the reconcile with our history. Because remember, as they stated on the Justice Democrats website, we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to lead our nation through a process that investigates the general harms caused by slavery and Jim Crow and propose necessary reparations. Okay? So now, as I read this part concerning their Truth and Reconciliation investigation, here it goes. Reconcile with our history. By establishing a National Truth and Reconciliation Commission to investigate, document, and assess the federal government's role in America's history of racism. I'm going to repeat that again because that doesn't sound like anything that has to do with reparations. By establishing a National Truth and Reconciliation Commission to investigate, document, and assess the federal government's role in America's history of racism. A federal investigation and commission modeled on the transitional justice approach in Germany, South Africa, and Rwanda. The purpose of the commission is to, number one, foster a national conversation on our government's history of racial discrimination and oppression. I'm going to repeat that again because that's the number one thing. Foster a national conversation on our government's history of racial discrimination and oppression. Number two, establish national memorials and curriculum standards to enshrine and pass on the truths of our history. Number three, create an accounting of the harm caused by our government's policies. And number four, create a proposal for reparations that would rectify the harms that were caused by the government. Reparations was the last thing on their list. But just like I read from the Justice Democrats website, the Justice Democrats, which is the Democratic institution that is producing these so-called progressive Democrats, these LBJs, right? These new Lyndon Baines Johnsons. Where on here did they say anything about Black people, Black Americans, or African Americans? Like I said, forget about the technical terms, ADOS, FBA, descendants of American slavery. We already know they're not going to say that. They didn't even say nothing about Black folks on here, nothing about African Americans on here. They're literally telling you that this commission is about fostering a national conversation on our government's history of racial discrimination and oppression. That applies to everybody, not just Black folks. That applies to everyone that is non-white. Okay? So they're literally telling you by the time you get to point number 4, create a proposal of reparations that would rectify the harms that were caused by our government. They're literally telling you that they're going to give reparations to everybody. That's what he's telling you on there. This is Jamal Bowman's website. Once again, these are the folks that are produced out of this Justice Democrats. They're telling you that right now. And then when you scroll down even more, let's scroll down some more. I'm not going to read all of this stuff to you because it's all a bunch of foolishness. This is supposed to be about reparations and a Black agenda for the descendants of American slavery and Black Americans as a whole concerning a Black America. And then they're talking a bunch of foolishness. Now let's get down here to this point. This is their, what is it? Well, I'm forgetting. This is so foolish. The reconstruction agenda, right? For reparations. This is your Black agenda. And of course, as per usual, they've Trojan horse. They have everything else in here. Medicare for all, housing justice, free college and canceling student debt, invest in public schools, the Green New Deal, tax the rich, expand labor unions and Social Security, baby bonds. What does any of this have to do with reparations for the descendants of American slavery? Can somebody please tell me what this has to do with anything concerning reparations for the descendants of American slavery? Absolutely nothing. They've shoehorned the Green New Deal and all these other these political talking points that in and of themselves, these are talking points independent of themselves. But in your supposed Black agenda, which I guess the third reconstruction is supposed to be, they've inserted the Green New Deal and everything else under the sun under it. So this has nothing to do with you at all whatsoever. Okay? This is what the Justice Democrats are producing. This is what these progressive Democrats, this is who they are. This is what they're all about. They're no different than LBJ in the 1950s and 60s. They're no different than any of the other Democrats that came before them. The only difference between the Democrats that came before them and them is this. And this is the last thing that I'm going to show you. This is the only difference. Give me just a second to pull this up. My apologies. So let me stop sharing that. Never mind. Never mind what you're looking at right there. This is the only difference, okay? That right there. The only difference is that the new Democratic Party moving forward is going to, I guess, look like the demographics of America. That's the only difference. The only difference is that we're going to go from a predominantly white Democratic Party to a people of color looking Democratic Party. But at the end of the day, the system of racism and white supremacy is still pulling the strings. The look of the Democratic Party is changing right in front of your very eyes. Like I said, they're going through a transitionary period. The look of it is changing. But the name of the game is still the same. Blacks at the bottom and perpetuate the system of racism and white supremacy. These people at the top, they'll be fine. It's everybody else that's going to suffer, particularly you. So you see, all we're witnessing right now is history repeating itself. So in closing this out, getting back to why that video, that so-called Zoom leak with Joe Biden and the civil rights leaders, why that happened, why it was leaked, which we all know now was leaked intentionally, is that it was leaked so that it could be used as a tool for recruitment to get more so-called progressive Democrats. It's used as a tool for recruitment for the Justice Democrats to recruit and vet more people into this new Democratic Party. Because what it shows is, hey, you see how us progressive Democrats, you see how we towed the line for Joe Biden and we tried to play ball with these establishment Democrats. And in the end, look, he stabbed us in the back. Look at how he's talking to those civil rights leaders. He's literally telling them he's not going to do anything for them. And in doing so, by default, he's literally telling them he's not going to do anything for any of us. So the answer is to replace the old guards of the Democratic Party with all of us new progressive Democrats. That's the game. That Zoom call was not leaked for you and me to be able to sit and gloat over and say, ha ha, look at you civil rights leaders. Y'all don't got no backbone, so that's what you get. No, that was not created. It was not leaked so that we can look at BLM, the BLM organization, and other black voters that voted Democrat for us to go, see, we told you. That's why it's no tangibles, no vote. That's why you got to get with us. That's not what that was for. It was for what you're seeing in front of you right now, for them to move forward and take over. White supremacy in blackface. White supremacy in Hispanic face, for that matter, brown face. White supremacy concerning Ilhan Omar. What is that? Where is she from again? Somewhere in North Africa, I believe, or maybe the Middle East. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really matter. It's just a color. It's just a colored face on white supremacy. So with all that being said, that's all I got for you today. I hope you guys got got a little something out of this video. I appreciate all of you for the support that you've shown me through Cash App and through Patreon, as well as through the Super Chat. And I really hope that we take this moment to look at what's happening in front of us right now, to see that, like I said, all we're witnessing is history repeating itself. That's it. And my hope is that we don't fall for it again. So please make sure you share this stream. I appreciate you all for tuning in today. I'm Tony Delerme. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. Also, make sure you text TD Hip Hop to number 33222. That's TD Hip Hop to number 33222. That way you'll get a direct text notification whenever I release a new video. But it also serves as a protection plan for myself. So in case YouTube ever gives this channel the axe, I'll be able to send you a direct link to where you can find me next. All social media links will be pinned in the comment section below, as well as in the description. And I believe that's it. Oh, no. Last but not least, for those of you, like I always say, who have a love and appreciation for the work that I put in on this channel, you can show your love and appreciation towards me through Patreon. For only $5 a month, or I should say now for only $3 a month, that will help put me in position to be able to take TD Hip Hop Media off of YouTube. Remember, the goal is not to grow big on YouTube, but to grow independent of YouTube. Until the next video,